Hello everyone. So usually we start our blog with saying, "Hi, this is Rich. Welcome to my blog." But today I'm the one interviewing Rich. So before we start, and I'm hogging the mic today, usually when Rich talks and he interviews me on his channel, today is my chance. So before I start the whole thing, I found out Rich2150x when he had only 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. It was 2011. And I was waking up to what's going on in the world. I was waking up to the matrix, to the reality, finding out the truth for myself, for my self-betterment. And Rich was one of the first people after David Icke to guide me, to show me the way, to teach me the right things, and to answer my comments on YouTube. Like, as people who are writing comments right now under my videos and the Rich videos, Rich was one of the first people who wrote back to me and wrote back a lot and explained so much that I needed for my life. And up to now, like for 8 years, we've had a very close relationship. So I felt like today is a perfect day for me to interview Rich. So yeah, what got you to make videos on YouTube?
Well, I was really into getting out of body and doing the research for consciousness shifting and moving into their worlds. And I had come up with all these different techniques and things, and I was working real hard at it. And it was one of my major passions. And I had done a few group things back in the 90s, before things got sophisticated and before YouTube came out. And I had interacted with a few groups, and I liked the idea of interacting with people and teaching and the feedback and just meeting other people like me. So when YouTube started getting going, it just started really. It was before Google bought it out. I go, I really want to make a video and share about getting out of body. Oh, I had been doing that guided OBE thing where I will sit there with a person that has really good visuals and I have them close their eyes and start visualizing things. And I knew so much about how this works, the consciousness part of it and the creating universes thing. I just knew, I had a hunch that I could get a person to get out of body by talking them through it. So they get real quiet. And anyway, that's the whole thing. But I did it, and I was able to get people out of body while I'm talking to them. It's kind of like a hypnosis session, but it's not hypnosis. It's kind of like a visualization, guided visualization, but it's not that. It's literally moving a person in consciousness from the physical realm into a non-physical realm. So that was my first video. That I was really excited about that, and I wanted to share that with everybody. And so I took like about 2 or 3 weeks just making this one video. Like I had some green screen and special effects and things like that. So did that answer the question?
Yes, indeed. So how long were you on YouTube? For how many years?
I don't know. 2007 or something. I don't know. A long time. So it's been over 10 years for sure. The first 300 videos I made, the first 300 got hacked and deleted. My channel got hacked, and some asshole just deleted all my shit. And of course, YouTube motherfuckers don't have any backup system or, a catch, like, hey, you got 24 hours to undelete or some bullshit like that. No, motherfucker. Okay, I'm getting pissed. But it feels good to vent, Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, the first 300 fucking videos got fucking deleted. It really bummed me out. I said, oh, fuck it. And I just started making more. And I uploaded over 800 more since then. So anyway, who am I mad at? I don't know. Fucking angry. Just I'll be mad at the fucking clouds. I don't care. Just give me a reason, man. It's good to vent. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for listening, everybody. Hi. Oh, we're still doing an interview?
Well, I'm glad you get to express yourself, and like over 1,000 videos so far. Like I go to your YouTube, click videos, and over 1,000 things to choose from. So it's amazing. Now, what are some of the topics that you like talking about most?
It's people that watch my shit. They know it's out-of-body experiences. It's reptilians, ETs, aliens, demons, entities of all kinds, soul contract revocation stuff, and release work, past life regression and release work, personal development stuff. And ever since I was 20 years old, or before I was 20, I wanted to get out of body. The best way to do it, I found, was to do traumatic incident reduction sort of work, the trauma that keeps us programmed into thinking we're the body or can't get out or all this shit. Anyway, that was the theory. So I started doing a lot of past life regression work back in the 70s to clear the blockages to getting out of body. And at the same time, I learned some interesting techniques for getting out. And this is way before Robert Monroe. I've discovered his work. I discovered his stuff in 1986, 87, I guess. And I was doing this other shit in the 70s. And I'll just keep talking till I forget what the fucking question is. Okay, so we got there, so I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. So as a kid or like a teen, you got interested in getting out of body, and one of the things for you that like got you there is like working on a past life regression. So what did you learn from the past life regression? What kind of insights you got?
Well, I don't usually talk about what I'm going to talk about right now. It's heavy, it's deep, and it's like, oh, are you fucking kidding me? What I learned from this that has to do with getting out of body is that you can recall past lives millions and billions of years ago. Once you get practiced at recalling your past, you can just keep on going back. And that's where you start tapping into your greater consciousness. And we are like a fractal or a bit of our greater consciousness. You can call it overself, oversoul, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But there it is. But it's you. And now you're a bit, right now, we're a bit of our greater self. Overself, oversoul, whatever. But even that is a spark or a bit of something greater. And it's holographic in that everything in the big bit is contained in the little bit. So this is why people can do their meditations and have these psychic experiences and become one with God consciousness or experience that God consciousness thing. It's because they, within their holographic aspect of self, from their greater self, they don't have to like tap into greater self. They're just tapping into themselves because it's all here. So, potato, potato, tomato, tomato, however you want to say it, it's the same experience in that kind of phenomena. So as you do this past life regression stuff, you can go back further and further and further. And what I discovered, and many, many other people have discovered too, is traps, soul traps, free spirits flying around. They're getting trapped. It's like it's kind of like there's two factions: physical people, beings in physical bodies run around the freaking universe. They don't have to be humans, but they're, they have some kind of a physical body with their advanced civilizations and high tech. So there's that group. And then there's the spiritual beings or non-physical beings that can fly around without a body. And these beings can kind of come into and out of the physical universe experience, like a poltergeist, kind of a poltergeist ghost sort of being is in a non-physical realm, but can schmooze into the physical world and push things and touch things and talk to people who will hear things and see things and objects will move. And some of these ghosts can materialize to individuals. So basically we're talking about spiritual beings, and there's all kinds and levels and abilities that these have, and they're in all kinds of planes and dimensions outside of the physical. But way, way, way back, millions or billions and billions of years ago, there were these wars. Physical beings were duking it out with spiritual beings, and the spiritual beings were duking it out with the physical beings. So what the physical beings would do And we played both sides. You know, you and I, everybody here probably, or most people that are here on Earth, have played both sides. So it's not like taking sides so much. It's just, this is what I have recalled in past life regression, and many, many, many other people have. There's been a lot of research into these soul traps. And so physical beings would create electronic devices, all kinds, you know, to attract you. And where spiritual beings are very curious about things and very, very awesomely powerful. With a thought, they can disappear and teleport or get out of places, but they can get caught by these different kinds of soul traps. And then once they get caught electronically, now they're like, now the human beings can implant them electronically. It's a lot like hypnosis, right? It's that MK Ultra sort of stuff. Yeah. But for a non-physical being, bzz, and flash pictures at them. It's very high-tech stuff back in those days. And so spiritual beings would get implanted and reprogrammed to think they are physical beings. And now they wake up one day in a baby body or something, or a clone body, but they're in a physical form now with a mind wipe, being human, for example. And it's like, how do you snap out of that? And so this would be like the genesis of why you would want to do soul or traumatic incident reduction, past life regression work, to deprogram yourself as to why you're stuck in a physical body, why you're programmed into thinking you can't easily move in and out. And there's a lot of electronic phenomena. It's part of our subconscious case, so to speak. And that stuff is kind of always in play for most people. It keeps them stuck in their physical body. And it can be just a belief or a consideration that and many of these deep within self where you can't see it, but through past life regression work, you can start pulling it out and seeing it and looking at it, inspecting your own limiting beliefs and the programming that you had even millions, billions of years ago. And through this, it lightens you up to where you can start getting out of body more easily. But you still need the techniques. That just gets rid of the your worries, concerns, fears, issues, limitations, limiting beliefs and stuff. But you still, usually, people will need a technique for getting out. So once again, I've talked till I forgot the fucking question. So.
Well, that's okay. You did answer the question though. So a lot of people these days, they want to recall their past life. Like, oh, I'm interested in my past life. Who was I? They just want to find out. They want to find out like who were they in the past life? What did they do? Like, sounds interesting. Everyone wants to know that. What's your first take on people when they say that? Like, hey, Rich, help me remember my past life. Who was I? What did I do?
Well, my first thought is that a lot of people think they might have been somebody famous or positive they were somebody famous, or they just feel like maybe they were, and they want to know if they were somebody famous. Well, and here's the thing. Whether you were somebody famous or not, it's possible to tune into a past life and pick up on being that famous person. And there's various psychological reasons that can happen. And there's also spiritual or psychic reasons that can happen. Because we are consciousness, and we are identifying with this point of view, and we want to track this point of view with this memory experience phenomena into its past. So you can go back 100 or 1,000 years, and you tap into a famous person. Let's say Julius Caesar, the first Caesar. And so now you could have been Julius Caesar, or you could be his sidekick, or you could be somebody out on the street wishing they were fucking Caesar. Yeah. Okay. But because you are a psychic being, and when you can recall a past life, you can literally move into any person in the memory experience, because it's a holographic memory stuff, and you're not really a human being with limited abilities. You're this great consciousness experiencing itself as this individual. So now when you tune into a past life, you could be the Yahoo on the fucking street, and here comes Caesar in a parade. And you have the ability to tap into the consciousness that is Caesar and literally look through his eyes in that past life experience and see and feel the parade around you as Julius Caesar. And you go, ha, I knew it. Fucking Julius Caesar, man. Mm. Well, yeah, no. Yeah, no, yeah. So that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Other things come to mind too, but that's long.
Really? Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, it already went away.
Okay. Yeah. So for people like, for normal people that don't have any ability to get out of body and just have pure interest in finding out who were they, like what would be your recommendations? Like, they just think like they're gonna think a thought and get there, or like how does this work?
Well, I got interested in getting out of body when I was like 15 or 17 years old, and I read a novel about some guy that could do that. He'd shift into another world. And wow, it was a lot like John, the fuck, from Mars, blank. Anyway, that movie, Edgar Rice Burroughs. But instead of falling asleep in a cave, my hero in my novel fell asleep in a cabin up in the mountains. And he woke up in a barbarian world. And when I read that story, I just knew that that's got to be possible. I want to do that. So it kind of got me started with wanting to get consciousness shift into another realm, world, universe. And so then when I was 20, I was over in the Philippines, and I wanted desperately to get off that island and get out of there. And I go, it's that, if I could just get out of body, that'd be great. So that really set me on my journey. And then when I got back to the States, I started learning about it. I started getting involved in this past life regression stuff, all for getting out of body. And, but then it took another 17 fucking years. This is before the internet, and, I started buying books and reading on it, and but then get sidetracked and doing different things. But I always had this interest in getting out of body. And it took me 17 years. And finally got a hold of Robert Monroe. His first book, Journeys Out of Body, has a technique in there. It worked. Along with some other stuff, which I'm going to, I like to teach people how to do this stuff. But yeah, it took me 17 years. I had passion for it. And then when I started, like in 1987, I finally got out with a technique that worked.
Yeah.
It's in Robert Monroe's first book. It's the main one. So it's not like, which one? There's really only one. So anyway, that got me really started. That's when I started keeping a dream journal. And for the first 10 years or so was handwritten journal. I mean, it's just like a thick page, like this. And then I flipped, when the internet keyboards and all that came out, I flipped it over to typing journal. And it's like, 300 or 400 pages of dream journals. But it's dream journal, OBE journal, stuff like that. But it took a long time. So when people say, hey, I want to learn how to get out of body, it's possible to learn how to get out of body quickly. Michael Raduga says, hey, I'll show you how to do it in one day in a workshop or something. 80% success rate. I go, really? I don't know how that happened, because when I took a group of people and they did Michael Raduga's technique, and they worked real fucking hard and longer than a couple of fucking days too, was no 80 fucking percent. I go, what the fuck? I'm not saying he didn't do it or lied about his statistics, but something was different. It takes work for most people to get out of body. And it has to do mainly with learning how to stay awake when the body's asleep. Mind awake, body asleep. And there's many, many different strategies and ways that can be done. But that's what it is. And once you're even awake and the body's asleep, you still got to get out of the body. Sometimes we identify with our astral body or second body, and it is stuck, superimposed on the physical body. And so you got to roll away or get out. And there's a kind of a magnetic energy phenomenon going in sync. As you're close to it, it's hard. It's further to get away from it, easier it is. But then the other way out is you're not identifying with a second body or an astral body or anything. You're just being the consciousness. And then you can instantly teleport or just be. It's not even teleportation. And it's not going through portholes or wormholes. Or stargates. It's just like, now you're here. And it can be in the physical dimension, etheric, real-time double, astral planes, subplanes, causal plane, all these different things. And it can be way outside the context of all those labels into the multiverse. There's all kinds of realms and reality systems, parallel universes, and things like that we can consciousness shift instantly. It has nothing to do with a physical or a second body. But yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. So if you want to learn how to get out, that's great. And I think it's very important because what you're really doing is you're learning how to consciousness shift into a greater reality that is not this physical universe limited reality system or simulation or a matrix or whatever you want to call this, which is a trap. We're basically trapped within our own mind. And this is a mind construct, a mental construct, and we're doing this physical universe experience with many other beings. We're tuning in. We're all tuned to the same TV station, 3D holographic, so to speak. But we're programmed to think certain ways, so it's difficult for a lot of us to get out of here. And at night, if we get out, we don't remember, and we're back here because we don't remember our dreams very well. That's why dream recall and dream journals are very important.
That makes sense. Like when I was 14 and I was like in love with this boy that was across the ocean, and like I knew him, he didn't know me, just like, oh, I saw it on the internet, so like I just fell in love with him. And when I heard about getting out of body, I was like, hey, can I use this to actually meet up with him in another world and have something going and see if it's possible? And I was literally, I had no knowledge in getting out of body. I had it happening naturally, but I wasn't really sure like what's going on and how it's happening. And so then I met you, and like you taught me like how it works, like what I need to do. And for me, it was like the starting point for me to get out of body was literally pure out of love, because like, oh, I'm in love, I want to do this, and let's see if it works. And so for me, it's interesting, like what were some of the main things you found out once you get out of body? Like what changed?
Ego. It's like, I knew it. Fucking knew it. I knew it was possible. It was just really exciting and neat. The biggest thing that it helped me understand was that we are not our mind. We are not the mind. We are the conscious being or the consciousness. And when you go out of body and adventure in a second body, in locale 2 or some other alternate reality or belief system territory, it doesn't matter what you call it, but you're there and you have walked away from your physical experience. You've shifted conscious. You don't have to be somewhere like in distance this way, but you're different vibration frequency. So yeah. You're in this new place, but you leave all of the emotional stuff, the needs, the wants, the pain, the worry, concern, fears, limitations. You leave that all behind. And all that you've left behind is your mental stuff, your mind stuff, your subconscious mind stuff that has to do with survival in the physical world. You don't need it, you don't use it, you don't tune it in, you don't turn it on when you're off exploring the multiverse. Consequently, the entities that can attach to us and affect us in adverse ways have to attach to this aspect of our subconscious mind and these kinds of energies in our physical body and our emotional body or energy body that is part of the physical universe experience. So when you get out of body, you're clean and clear of all that crazy shit. Yeah. And you can, it's so refreshing. You feel so alive and awake. It's amazing. Now, it is possible that you will find yourself in a lower astral plane or some creepy, dark place, and you will experience fear, anger, and different emotions, but they're very clean and they're very pure and they are yours. Or you are feeling the energy being projected by another being or an energy field. You will feel more clearly And with a little education and experience, you become clear that what you're feeling is not yours. It's somebody projected a fear energy beam at you or something. And so you were experiencing fear, but, oh, that wasn't me. That wasn't my fear. That was the experience of it. It's like somebody, shooting a microwave at you, and all of a sudden you feel real warm. Wow, what's that? You don't see it, but somebody did it. You didn't make yourself warm, kind of thing. And so it's not your fear. You're experiencing it. But yeah, so you learn a lot of things like that. And you certainly learn that you are a non-physical, immortal being. And you learn that the physical universe isn't all that real after all. It's as real as it is right now, yeah. Yeah, but there are places that are more touchy-feely. It's called visceral. You can feel it more. Oh, and it's neat. It just feels good, the textures and the sounds. I can't sing, I don't have a singing voice here. I can't hit a note, can't carry a tune in this world. But over there, I could play the piano, the saxophone, guitar, sing. I was in a little country western group, and I'm singing like a freaking bird, man. I'm just like impressed myself how good I can sing over there. So yeah, lots of good stuff.
It is.
It's worth it.
So what was one of your experiences when you were out of body that gave you more understanding about planet Earth and what's going on here and how things work all together?
Oh, okay. There's this one where it was like a miniaturized version of what's going on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. It was you can imagine it kind of like an asteroid, flat surface, had a dome over it. It's a dome is over the entire city.
Yeah.
Flat earthers will like this one. It's very, very like that. Because above the clouds, above the city, and above the forests and the trees and the mountains, big dome was all over everything. Above the clouds was like a ceiling, and we're like in the attic. And in the attic is the staging area where they bring people, human people, after they've died. They're picked up and captured from other universes, physical universe, alternate physical universes, parallel realms. I'm not sure where they were gathering all their people, but ETs, aliens, in these big giant spacecraft, were transporting these big long, they look like coffins. These metal coffins are rocket and missile containers, but like super giant size. Mm. And these were being floated out of an airlock out of this big giant spacecraft. And I'm sitting in this attic realm above the big city, where they would program people up here in the attic and then sit them down on the surface. But I'm up here, out of body, wide awake. I go, what is this place? And I'm seeing refugees everywhere, as if they just got out of a big, national or a big disaster, train wrecks, literally, just all kinds of terrible things where large amounts of people die at the same time. So these ETs are out here combing the multiverse. I don't know where they're getting these people, but they would gather up the people that had died in tragedies, whole families, and abduct them in their astral body, abduct them, and then cram them into these big ass containers. So there's hundreds of people, beings now. They're not in physical form now, but they're in these big, long ass containers. And these are being floated out of the airlock. I'm seeing this, right? I'm looking through the dome. I can see through the dome. I have my superpowers in my out of body state. So I'm seeing through the dome, and the regular local refugees can't see through the dome. It's like they're looking at blue sky. They're not seeing outer space.
Yeah.
I'm seeing outer fucking space with stars in the background and all that stuff. Spaceship. So these guys are floating this big giant casket looking thing out. And the people, the guys looked about this size, and this casket looks like this, you know, it's huge. And I'm watching, they're in these bright red suits, space suits. And there's 3 or 4 of them, and they're like, and they're floating this thing over this way. And they bring it over, and they basically hook up to the airlock on the big dome thing and release these prisoners. And they're like, they stumble out of this state, and they're back in their astral form. You know, we all do this when we die. We default to a second body, or an astral body, an energy body that looks like the body that we were in when we died. Most people, and it's usually a version of it, and you can look younger or older, but it's a version of your body. So these people were coming out, and they were looking basically this default. Dad looked like dad, mom was mom, and the 2 kids looked like the 2 kids. And they're stumbling around like, what just happened? They're totally fucking clueless. And I have a clue. And I'm going, what the hell is this place? This is back in 1988, 89, when I had this out-of-body experience. What is this place? And so they're stumbling around. I'm just watching, and I'm looking all around, all these little families and groups of people. They got their little ropes tied up and little blankets, so they have their little private space. And I look over here, and there's this robot, kind of like a droid, and it looks at me. I look over at it, and I knew exactly what it was. It's a security guard fucking robot. And I could just psychically, you know, get what this was about. And it goes, I'm like, don't even think it, mother. And the thing is, it took the fuck off. And I go, these people are clueless. And I go, what? And then I go, yeah, and that's when I kind of realized, oh, I'm in the staging area, and there's a world, a belief system territory, an asteroid with a city built on it or something. I go, okay, it's time to go downstairs and check it out. So because I'm out of body, I had a body, but it's my astral second body. I can fly around and stuff. So anyway, I just kind of and went down on the surface of this place, and it was a city. It reminds me of the movie Blade Runner with Harrison Ford. It was one of the original creepy, futuristic, but degraded cities. You know, it's dirty and it's dark and it's filthy and a lot of poor, fucked up people down there. Anyway, I'm standing on a street corner, and there's this meat wagon. It's one of these little food carts. The guy's cooking meats and selling it. And black smoke's coming out of his little chimney. There was no EPA, no Environmental Protection Agency here. It's all smoggy and dirty and it's a crappy place.
Yeah.
I'm going, whoa. I go, what is this place? People look, they're locked into their everyday, dreadful, unhappy life, but they're just living life. What the hell? So I said, well, I'm getting out of here. And so I started walking out of town. I go over some old railroad tracks, and there's these telephone wires. I'm walking under the telephone thing, and I see this woman walking. I'm walking this way, and she's walking this way. And I said, well, you know, hey, I can just, I'll just talk to her. So as we're getting closer, I'm going, hello, nothing. And so a little bit louder, as I'm getting a little closer, I go, hello, nothing. Zombie fucking hypno fucking creepy shit. I go, what the? So then I decided with a great intention, beam her directly to wake her up. I go, hello? And she snaps out of her daze. Everybody there is living in this fucking daze. She snaps out of her daze for a second. She looks right at me, wide awake, scared shitless. And she takes off fucking running back to the group, the crowd. Safety in numbers, you know, back to the sheep herd.
Yeah.
I'm going, what the hell is this place? This is fucked up. So then I said, well, I'm out of here. And so I looked around, and the woods are just outside of town, the little hills and woods, thick, looks pleasant enough. And in the far distance, there's the blue mountains and the clouds and blue sky. I said, well, I'm going to go that way. I'm getting out of here. So I started walking down the street, and I started feeling a little uncomfortable. Like, maybe I should go back. But I said, what the hell? No. I keep walking, and I feel even more uncomfortable, starting to get a little worried and concerned. And I don't know why. I go, what the hell is this? And so I just keep walking. And then I got close enough to the energy field, the wall of the dome.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like a wall. It was a projection, a holographic projection. So it appeared that it seemed like there were mountains in the far, far distance, but they're not. It's a projection. So I start getting really close to the actual wall. And as I got closer, the visual effect of the hologram started dissolving, and I could literally see the energy grid that was projecting it. So I was that close to it. But I was feeling very afraid now, scared. And I had this really strong urge to run back to the group, just like that woman did. I go, fuck, this is programming. This is how they trap them in here. They make them afraid to keep on going. And I said, well, fuck that. And I just kept walking and just walked right through the grid, you know, because it couldn't stop me. It just felt like creepy. And then I just walked through it, and then I was free. And then I snapped back to my physical body, and you know, wow, and remembered all the details.
Yeah.
And so I wrote it up and stuff. And so what that taught me, it took years and years and years, you know, over 20 years later, with the internet and everybody expressing their views about, and the Matrix movie comes out, and I already had believed in Earth Prison Planet, but I really hadn't put it all together. That was a mini version of what's going on planet Earth. That very kind of thing is literally, not figuratively, going on right here where we are right now. Same sort of shit. The energy field, the grid, beings grabbing people from other planets and places, programming them and making them incarnate into physical bodies, mind wipe, and programmed and not awake. They're awake enough to get around and walk around and do stuff like we are here, but we're not awake enough to realize what this is and what's going on here. And so, yeah.
Wow.
That's what going out of body taught me. There's other great lessons too, but that was probably one of the best.
So I guess like people who want to get out of body or have an idea like, hey, that would be fun. Like, it's not just a fun experience, but you can learn quite a bit, you know, if you do that sort of stuff. Now, another question I have for you was, when was one of the first times when you woke up to what's going on in the world? You know, just like kind of awakening going on.
It's about 1972. I was reading a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy. And it was the first book that introduced to me what the Trilateral Commission is and the Commission on Foreign Relations, CFR. And that's the super rich power elite. They get together and they invite members, special people, into their group, and it's world leaders from all over the world. It's not political. It's just the super rich power elite, power brokers of the world, politicians, captains of industry, the banker elite, the super rich families, this sort of thing. And the book explained really well what the hell's going on. And that's when I first started waking up to that. And I had already been doing a couple hundred hours of past life regression work. Yeah. So I was awake to what was going on in galactic history, so to speak. So the two kind of came together in that way. I wasn't attuned to the entity phenomena back then, though. But yeah, and so since then, well, since I first started in the past life regression work, I wanted to wake up more and more to who and what I really am, and my history, who and what I've been in the past, to put it all in context, so as to help me understand what's going on with me and the rest of humanity, so that I could help do something about it. And so that's where I am today. It's like, what can you do about this? I'm not a politician. I'm not a general. I'm not a banker. I'm not a policymaker. Any of that. What can I do? Just share what I know. Share information. Step one: wake people up. Share what's going on in the universe. Not just physical universe, but the multiverse, and not just planet Earth or our solar system, but in our galaxy. There's a lot of brutal stuff going on right now. But we need to know as beings to break free of this. Otherwise, we can get caught up into recycling back into a physical human body with another mind wipe. That's not good. So wake up. That's the thing.
Makes sense. So people nowadays that are asleep, how are you trying to help them to wake up? Like, what are the first few steps?
I think it's political and spiritual. It's spirituality versus the political arena. There are the powerful political people, those movers and shakers, you call them the Khazarian mafia, you can call them the deep state, shadow government, the super rich power elite, committee of 300, whatever you want to call this whole Illuminati sort of Freemason secret society stuff. It's all connected, and it's very much spirituality, but it's not the positive stuff, it's the dark stuff. But they totally worship, they're not, you could even say they're religious, but they worship Satan, Lucifer. And they get they get their power from the spiritual side of things. So with their Luciferian motivation, they get themselves in politics, in government, and CIA, and the FBI, and into the world organizations that control and manipulate the world, UN and NATO, and they're just everywhere. But what they all have in common is what I would term as their spiritually motivated political agenda. And that's what we need here to help people wake up. I believe they need to understand their spiritual side, as in who and what they really are, not a physical being, and the reality beyond the physical world. So we just call that the spiritual or metaphysical. But they also have to understand politics. Same root word, POL, poll is like citizenship, the people. And policy is the rules and regulations that govern people in groups. So politics is the subject or that aspect of our lives that creates the policies that the people live by. And we have to do that especially in a physical world like this. We have to have policy or guidelines, you know, and this is done with politics. And so we're being controlled and manipulated by politics or policy. So we have to understand what's going on in politics, because those who are controlling us through politics, and literally the Democratic Party, Republican Party, doesn't matter what party, politics. It's political. And there are political agendas, but they're controlled by beings and powerful people that are not in politics. Politics is beneath them. They're the puppet masters of the politicians that will create the policies to control and dominate the world on that level. So, but these people up here are satanic, literally. And the world right now, I'm not a Christian, but it's definitely, there is a war going on, and it's the good guys versus the bad guys, and the bad guys, they turn to Lucifer or Satan as their go-to guy. That's their leader, so to speak. And they are evil as can be. The people, the super rich power elite, are evil as can be. And they use politics, but they also use their spiritual black magic and numerology and, you know, all this psychic, metaphysical black magic stuff. All these evil, powerful families and groups do this sort of thing because they understand that the physical world is a construct of thought and the mind. And so they are into controlling people on the planet by controlling our minds. Thus we get all this mental programming through TV and music and Hollywood and all of this on every level, in education and medicine, everywhere is control and mind control, MK Ultra, advanced propaganda techniques. This Greta Thunberg thing, that's a whole mind control manipulation thing right now. You've got a child, you've got passion, you've got the powerful emotion coming out of this little person is the carrier wave for the message. And the message is the message of the deep state, the super rich power elite. This global warming, climate change agenda is just another way to get the mass population to agree, go along with politics. But it's very spiritual, psychic approach to control and domination of the world. And so I could go on and on about that subject, but I won't. It was a good question.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked it up because like it's really important. Like, you know, these days there's so much happening. Like the whole Epstein thing came up and got quiet really fast. And now we have Greta talking, and it's gonna go really fast. The next subject will come up. It's gonna be catchy, and like for a few weeks later, it's gonna be something else. You know, so it's like it becomes a thing. Yeah. So with all these things going on in life, what are some of the bigger conspiracies that sort of got you involved and like really sharing the truth of what's going on in like world?
I guess this whole Freemason Illuminati thing. I heard about the Illuminati. Yeah, the Illuminati means the illuminated ones, the enlightened ones, as an Lucifer, lucent means light. or the bringer of the light, right? So, in other words, the enlightenment. So Lucifer is very enlightened. In other words, motherfucker knows a lot of shit, but he's using it to control and dominate the rest of us. And so the ones that are the psychopaths and socio-fucking-path motherfucking bloodlines, they're into the control and domination, and they don't give a flying fuck about human life, except their own. But they are enlightened. They literally are. It's an appropriate name, Illuminati. They are illuminated. They get it. And the rest of humanity has been dumbed down, kept ignorant, kept in the dark on purpose by the rich and powerful since day fucking one. And since day fucking one on the people on earth, there's been magic, black magic, white magic. In other words, you could say more like law of attraction and the how to manifest your reality with the way you think and the way you manipulate thought, your psychic energy stuff. That's enlightened. Well, these Illuminati have been beating the fuck out of the rest of us using this stuff against us, including teaching us that there's, oh, magic isn't real. And that's nonsense. No. Unfortunately, they've made the dark magic the thing. Magic is, when we say magic, a magic show, we think illusions, sleight of hand and props and trickery, and not really real magic. Yeah. But real magic is happening. But to even say that sounds like nonsense to the average person in the world. So fortunately, we've come up with the concept of the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, or creating your world and your reality by virtue of how you think and feel. So we can more wrap our head around it like that. But the Luciferian gang, the super rich power elite, they totally get it. And they use that. They use other things too, but they use that on the masses. So.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking, like, you got pretty much like quite noticed by some famous YouTubers when you started talking about all the wildfires, and they were just acknowledging you and what you were saying. And a few years ago you found out, like, from David Icke regarding the archons and like how are they using the soul contract things, and Cameron Day, and basically you set up even your own course to help people. So how did finding out about soul contracts and archons change your life, and what kind of differences do you notice?
Yeah, so I had done a lot of research and work, spiritual work, and I knew that it was a good idea to, when you're doing a traumatic incident reduction in a past life, you want to pick off any decisions you made. Mm-hmm. It's very important that we lock in. We have locked in things that we live our life by later. Like, something bad happens and I'll never do that again. But more deeply, you were never afraid of, let's say you were never afraid of heights. Now you are. I'll never do that again. But when Cameron Day, what is a soul contract? What is that? Agreement? Maybe I can use that. So I heard that from Andrew Bartzitz. He was talking to he was doing an interview on the Galactic Historian with Vince White, I think is his name. And he brought up the subject of soul contracts and explained a technique for revoking soul contracts. I go, hey, let me try that, because I'm really interested in the spiritual work, right? So I go, hey, that kind of works. But I knew a lot of techniques myself, and I go, maybe, is there another way to do this? And then on the sidebar, watching Andrew's stuff, I saw something from Cameron Day on soul contracts. So I went over to his channel or his website, and he had a step-by-step method for revoking, finding, and not so much finding, but revoking soul contract agreements. And he had a great theory and a great article about how he's no longer considers himself a light worker. I go, what? Why not? And then he starts talking about in the afterlife, these beings who pretend to be light workers, enlightened beings and spiritual masters to help us in our afterlife are actually the bad guys. And I go, what? And he's calling them archons. Archon means Lord, basically, in Greek or Latin or something. I go, what? So I looked into that more. And I liked where he was going with this. And he started talking about the afterlife, between lives area. And I knew something about that, between lives implants and stuff, because that's been going on for millions and billions of years.
Yeah.
And this was the latest version of it with Cameron Day. And I go, really? I mean, I knew about the past life review thing, but I really didn't have an opinion one way or the other on that subject. I go, yeah, I guess some people do a past life review after they die, whatever. But Cameron Day was bringing it up that these archons, they're the beings that are non-human, well, they're non-physical beings that also can manifest in physical form, but they're also extraterrestrial. We'll get more into that archon thing later, but these beings were pretending to be the masters and the loving beings, but what they were really involved in was getting us to agree to things and then reincarnate with a mind wipe. And I never heard that specific story before, and I go, that makes sense to me. Because I knew people are getting a mind wipe, but why? Lots of different reasons. But we have to agree to it. That made sense to me, because that gives us back some of our power if we realize that we're doing it to ourselves. But they're talking us into it. And the way they do it is they stack the deck. They'll get us doing a past life review, but they'll cherry pick the incidents. They're not going to show you all the wonderful times or the few wonderful times of you winning, being a good guy, loving heart, saving a bird, doing something fucking sweet and nice. No. Fuck that. They're going to show you when you were at your weakest or your most vulnerable, or you were being a bad boy or a bad girl. And they're going to make you feel like shit. It's classic manipulation shit, Mom. Well, that's okay. If you go back just one more time, you can clear this karmic debt. I'm in debt? Yeah, you did some terrible things. And if that doesn't work, because you didn't do enough terrible things, they will pick on some past lives where you did terrible things. But anyway, they'll get you. And then you're going, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go back just one more time. People don't want to come back to this motherfucking place. I mean, yeah, there's a percentage that might want to come back, but most people, they get out of here, they feel great. So good. And that's just dropping fucking dead. Oh. And they're fine until they get met up with their spirit guides and their spiritual masters, archons, and talked into, come with me. And they'll get programmed, inducted into a past life realm that the archons actually are in control of. And so they're going to try to get you 8 ways from Sunday to agree to going back sooner or later. You could stay away like 1,000 years.
Yeah.
But you probably might want to go back just one more time. Take your time. You don't have to go back. If you go back now, you can get over fast. It's only a few years. It's a good time. But you don't have to go back now. I mean, it's like talking to a fucking child and talking a child into doing something, taking a fucking bath or something. Okay. We're chumps for that shit. So when Cameron Day started sharing all this stuff, I go, you know, that's good shit. That's pretty good. And it's these agreements, and I totally got it. Yeah. Agreements make reality. Two people can see the same thing, like a flying saucer, you know, and one of them can handle it and says, "Did you see that flying saucer? That thing that was real, man, wasn't it?" Looks at his buddy and go, no, that was a whatever. He can't handle it. He's got to believe it's something else. So he won't agree. And this guy won't agree with this guy. So they walk away from that and they both tell a third person, you know, these guys, it's not real to him from his viewpoint that it was a UFO, a real one, a flying saucer. And for this guy, it's not real to him that was some flying fucking machine with a space aliens. Fucking please. And he's, you know, and then they don't share a mutual reality, no mutual agreement. So agreement is very powerful. So if you can find the things you've agreed to that you wish you hadn't, or you don't want to agree to that anymore, but it's buried in your subconscious, you're going to still live by that. It's going to be part of your reality. So the soul contract revocation technique will teach you how to break the agreement or revoke it, make it null and void. But what wasn't so clear in Cameron Day's steps was how to find the agreements in the first place.
Yeah. And
I knew a lot about that. I said, well, you know what? I think I'll put together a soul contract revocation course that will fill in how to on each of the steps. Plus the very first is how to find an issue to address, and then how to find not just soul contract agreements, but all the other agreements that kind of gather and collect around the basic agreement. Like you might have a buried agreement. Sometimes you do something behind you say, well, I'm just a bad guy. And you agree with yourself. But you could have adopted that or agreed to that before you got here, and it was buried in you and you weren't really feeling it until you did that one thing. But now you did that one thing and you really feel bad about yourself. And for the rest of your life, you feel deep down, oh, bad guy. And you can't shake it. You can like forget about it and it's not bothering you for a few years, and then something happens and you go, and then you, because you have agreed you're a bad guy, that you also agree that, well, you're worthless. I'm worthless. Not only am I bad, I'm worthless. And then you agree, not a soul contract agreement, but it's an agreement that will attach to the core soul contract agreement. And that agreement is like, well, I don't deserve. You don't feel that way all the time, but you shit gets triggered and you go, yeah, I really don't deserve a break on this. It's like, serves me right. So you're just talking it up, thinking negative about yourself, but you're agreeing to things that you wouldn't agree to if you hadn't agreed to the soul contract core agreement in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's a very effective technique for changing your life, changing your emotional response to things, changing how you feel about yourself. So that was Cameron Day. He had the technique. I use his steps, but I also share the details of how to do each of his steps. He just told what to do. I broke it down and helped people understand what to do, exactly, specifically how to do what he asks you to do. And I explained some of the commands because some of them, in case people didn't understand, well, what does he mean exactly? I help people understand each command so that they can do it. So that's my soul contract revocations. That's how I came up with that. And by the way, Agvila will help you do your first soul contract sessions if you want. I designed the course so people could do it on their own by themselves. But sometimes people, well, it works with working with two people, and give each other sessions. One kind of coaches or guides the other person through it. And Agnila's really good at that. She helps people with that. So anyway.
Yeah, so there's a funny story regarding this whole thing. You know, you told me about this out-of-body experience you've had with a lot of, like, you know, the grid and all the details. And it just reminds me of the similarities of this life. When you told me about, again, like, revoking the agreements and stuff, I was like, yeah, how does it work? And so you've explained me the steps and stuff. But what happened when I started looking inwards on my issues and stuff, I got this huge fear, and I was just afraid to do the process. I wasn't sure really how. I was scared and stuff, and it felt like that grid. The closer you get to breaking your agreements and stuff, the more scared I felt. And I felt like something's bad gonna happen if I do it. But there's a funny part is that once you showed me how to do it and you guided me through the process and you helped me to understand it better, and from a person who was like, I was 18 years old, and I've been through like this harsh, like, you know, suppressing life. It's not like, not too bad compared to most people, but for me it was pretty intense. And I end up being a person who hardly talks to anyone, who has a really hard time expressing myself. And talking to someone in public was super hard. Just to walk up to someone in the store and like, hey, do you know where's the milk? My body would shake, I would tremble, my voice would like lock up, and I would just be stuck, and I would like, get close to passing out. So I was a person, like, you know, who's like, if I go with my family to the store, I'm always just behind and following everyone, just like good little girl, not doing anything. So for me, the communication thing was a very big thing, because in life I needed help. I needed to talk, I needed to express myself, I needed to do something to help myself, and communication was the number one thing to move through that whole thing. And I could not, because I had all these issues, beliefs about myself and who I am, and I could just not break the thing. So once you started helping me with the, you know, revoking my agreements and stuff, we did like 5-6 sessions regarding communications, and it is amazing. Like 4 years later, like we did the revocations in the first 2 years, and like we touched like various subjects, but there were like 5 mainer like sessions we had, the bigger ones. 4 years later, I have my own YouTube channel. I'm talking to a public. I've never felt this comfortable on a camera talking and just like stopping you and bringing it up and just, you know, hey, I'm gonna hug the mic and I'm gonna talk about my story. Like, I never felt I could do it. So it's a huge win for me. And my question for you is, it's a build-up, you know. What kind of wins have you had once you were doing the revocation process and like getting rid of your agreements? What kind of things have you noticed with that process?
Well, I guess some of the biggest wins I had was that it changed my chronic emotional tone. I was always into fear, worry, and concern. And I was very negative. And I just kept pounding away. It wasn't like real afraid. I mean, I could get there, you know, if I think about the wrong things. But concerned, worried a lot, you know, especially with life happening around you. People getting sick, loved ones with cancer, you know, financial flip-flops, all kinds of crazy, where's the, you know, well goes dry, California drought. It's just all kinds of things will come in at you. Worry, 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 concern, concern. Chemtrails everywhere. That China Lake thing with the earthquakes, deep state underground base, China Lake, main chemtrail jet landing base. That thing's 150 miles that way. I mean, it's just down the road as a jet. And all these chemtrails they'd just take off and turn on their jets. And it was just like 20, 30, 40 every day, 5 days a week. I mean, it's just covered in that shit. So there's a lot of, when you do the research on chemtrails, you can see just how bad it is. And then I've got it really bad because I'm right near their, I didn't know it at the time, but I was right near their landing base, and they're polluting the entire agricultural California Central Valley with these toxins. They want to put it into the food chain for around the world where all this food gets shipped. They do it on purpose. So anyway, you know, worry, 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 concern, concern, concern. And so I use the soul contract revocation thing over and over again, different things, you know. you can be afraid of something, and then you get rid of the fears. Well, now you still worry, but you're not quite afraid. But now it's like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 worries. You get rid of your worries. Now you're not worried anymore, but you got some concerns. Okay, 5 or 6 or 8, 10 concerns. And just keep pounding at it, and then it gradually lifts you up emotionally, the tone scale of emotions. To now, I'm not afraid or worried because I'm just grumpy and grouchy. And grumpy and grouchy because that's a form of frustration, which is a form of anger being stopped, and can't express it, can't get the right target. If you can, who's doing the bad things, you can't do anything about it. So all that emotional shit. So I banged away using the soul contract revocation technique on that. Why do I get angry? Well, I agree that they're a bunch of motherfuckers and they deserve something bad. And I can't give them what they deserve. And the agreement is if they're doing something bad and I can't do anything about it, then the right emotion is not optimistic or enthusiastic. The right emotion is, I agree, it's the time to feel angry, grouchy, grumpy. And that's because I can't confront being outraged, enraged, and say it out loud how angry I really am. You have to hold it in. So I agree that it's better to hold in the anger than let it out. So these are agreements. Some of them are soul contract agreements that can be revoked. So anyway, I hammer pounded on that, and I brought myself up in that way. While at the same time, life is pounding at you every which way. So you can use it as a maintenance technique for helping you pull out of your stuff or fight off the bad stuff. So that's one big thing. There's one other.
There is.
Yeah. I said, after a while, I got over being all worried and concerned and grouchy about the shit. And I said, hey, I wonder if I can use soul contracts. If I've got some soul contract agreements that are keeping me from getting out of body. So by this time, I'd been doing it for a couple of years, and I realized, well, about at least a year. So anyway, I knew all the commands and how to do it. So at night, this one night I laid down in bed, closed my eyes, and I did the entire soul contract revocation thing on issues about getting out of body. Sure enough, that same night I got out. It's like, wow, now there's an experimental technique we can put in the OBE research project. I wonder if that will work for anybody else. So I was pretty jazzed about it. I didn't want to push it. I didn't expect it to work every night, so I didn't try it every night. But a week or so later, I said, hey, let me try that again. So I did soul contract revocation technique on one of my other issues about getting out of body. Worked again. So that was another big one. So anyway.
Yeah. So for people who want to get out of body but can't, and they're like, well, I can't get out of body and that's my issue, and they don't really look inwards to see the deeper things, what kind of things have you addressed regarding like your issues regarding getting out of body that help you to get out for real? Just a few examples.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a big one. It's you know how good falling asleep feels, right? You go to bed at night, it's a long day, you're tired, and sometimes you can lay in bed and just feel so warm and cozy, and you just want to go to sleep. So you go to sleep. You sleep all through the night, and you wake up in the morning, or you wake up earlier and you want to get up. You're supposed to get up at 7:30, and you don't want to get up at 7:30 or 6:30. And you wake up, but you don't want to be awake. You want to go back to sleep. Because it feels so good. Well, that works on a very deep level. Spiritually, people don't want to wake up. They want to go back to sleep. So you can address that with soul contract, agreeing that sleeping feels good and sleeping is healthy and sleepy is survival. Going back to sleep is a good thing, and it's got all these, survival potential to it. Hey, I need my sleep. You can't just go without sleep. All these. So you can do a whole thing using soul contract revocation when you sleep. And you can start with physical sleep because you can identify with it easy, but it's spiritually sleeping. So there's a whole thing there you can do. You can use soul contract revocation on that. And another one is more simplistic is being afraid to get out, being overwhelmed by, oh, God, it's too exciting. It's really, really exciting. People can get out of body and they're out for like, just a moment. And they overreact emotionally, not in a bad way, but a very excited way. But they got so excited that emotionally they changed the vibrational essence in consciousness, and they went out of tune with what they were looking at. They blew themselves out of it with excitement. And now they're laying in bed going, whoa, that was... And then they want to do it again, and they might think, oh, how do I do it again? How do I do it again? And they try a few things, and it doesn't work, and they go, oh, it's harder than I thought. And now they're agreeing with themselves that it's harder than they thought. So soul contract will help them. So you can use the soul contract revocation technique to help with all kinds of things in that way. You can also use the universal release method, which is a simple thing. And through all of that, it takes practice for most people to start getting out of body. And there's all kinds of things you can practice. And once again, the OBE research project is kind of the idea, right? So we're going to help people practice all these different strategies and techniques and see if it helps them get out sooner, better, faster, and more often.
Yeah.
More, better, faster. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So 2 more questions before we wrap it up. Now, for people who are like probably beginners to this whole soul contract thing and revocations, you mentioned like it feels good going to sleep and stuff, and people will be like, hey, what if I remove something I like? Like I like sleeping and the feeling. So what happens if I remove it? Like, do I lose the liking of sleeping? It's never gonna feel good. Like, what would you say to them? Like, if they feel like they're gonna address something positive and then they're gonna lose it and never again will they feel that stuff? Like they're gonna get scared about doing this whole process.
Well, the thing about that is kind of like, imagine ice cream is the issue. I eat too much ice cream. Oh, and I'm getting overweight. Oh, and I'm bad. And you get all this stuff. So you were to address the subject of eating too much ice cream. And you agree that ice cream is delicious. You agree that you love ice cream. You love eating ice cream. And you agree that you eat too much. And you agree that you should probably stop. And you get all these agreements about it, and you revoke them all. And it worked. You got to put your intention in there too. It's not just, I cancel my, I hereby revoke all my agreements about liking ice cream and eating ice cream. And then you put some ice cream and you go, oh, good. No. You go, look, I am not agreeing with this anymore. No. Not doing ice cream. So you're done. And let's say that works for a while. Okay. But later, you get a craving for ice cream again. And you start thinking about it. And you realized, let's say you realized, because not just ice cream, but you get on a healthy kick, right? And now you're working out more and you're exercising and you're jogging, you're doing whatever, and you're losing weight. So you lost the weight. And then you go, I feel kind of bad having lost my, revoking my agreement that ice cream is yummy and I like ice cream. It doesn't work that way. You go, oh, look, I think I can handle one ice cream cone. I think I'm good. And you go, yeah, I'm going to do some, I want some fucking ice cream. I'm just going to, you're fat again. No. But the point is, you can't, oh no, I released something I really like. I stopped agreeing to this thing and it was bad. Well, you can always bring it back. You can always agree to something anytime you want. You can choose to agree, and yeah. And if it's not working, oh, I like ice cream, and you eat some ice cream, it doesn't do it for you, and you go, oh, I really miss that. I want ice cream to be really fucking delicious. I want to really love it like I used to. Well, just do soul contract revocation stuff in reverse. And you say, I agree that I love it. It's delicious. It tastes good. Yeah, it tastes pretty good. Yeah, yeah. Well, I agree that I like to overeat ice cream. Like, what the fuck do you want to do that for? And you will get addicted. I'm just saying. You do not have to worry about revoking something and regretting it. Yeah. Because there's two ways you can go about that. You can go, well, I don't want to regret it. I like being done with that stuff. It was addictive and it's not good for me. It's got dairy product and it's not good for me. I don't want to do that anymore. But now I regret having revoked wanting ice cream. Who thinks that way? But if they did, you go, okay, I agree that I regret revoking the whole ice cream thing. I really do. I agree that I agree that I didn't think it through. Yeah. Yeah. And a few other agreements. And then you revoke those. And so now you no longer agree that you regret it, and you no longer agree that you didn't think it fucking through. And you go, yeah. I'm good. I thought it through. I'm glad I don't eat ice cream. And you've gotten rid of your regret in using soul contract revocation stuff. But if that's not the way you want to go, you are the master. You're the captain of your own ship. And you go the other way around. You go, fuck ice cream. God damn it. I want some ice cream. For me, it's frozen yogurt, but ice cream, very similar. But God damn it. Yeah, I'm going to have, And all you have to do is just, you're a very powerful being. You say, fuck that soul contract fucking session. I wasn't thinking clearly because I love my ice cream. And so, yeah, and so you can just bring it back, So that's my thoughts on it. Okay. I haven't had to go back around and fix it that way myself personally. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we sort of start wrapping it up, you've mentioned OBE research project. Is this something new that you're slowly working on?
Yes, this is something new that I'm slowly working on.
Tell us more about it. What is this project? What are you going to do with it?
Well, this is a new approach to helping people get out of body. It's forum-based, interactive, and we're using Discord forum. So we have there are chat rooms, audio chat. So, I can get a group of students in there all at once, answer question and answers, or I can cover a particular lesson or assignment or a particular technique for getting out or an experimental technique for getting out. And it's called a research project, the out-of-body experience research project, because I've come up with many, many different techniques for getting out over the years, and that worked. I came up with some that didn't work, but they're not in the program, but that they worked. And lots of times they only worked once or twice or 3 or 4 times, and then they stopped working. I go, well, if they work for me, they could work for other people, but it's experimental. So I'm sharing these experimental techniques as well as all the normal, regular OBE boot camp work stuff that we do, and we do it together. We do it as a group. We do it, you'll have teammates, there's camaraderie, and it's all very private, and it's only for people who are dedicated to working their ass off with getting out of body. So there's lots of lessons and theory on vibrations and sleep paralysis and how to turn it on, and issues if you get scared when you get sleep paralysis, and quiet mind and techniques, and just all kinds of things. And there's daily exercises. We call them the dailies. you do your energy work. There's one kind and another, but you do it every day. Breath work, drinking water, spinning around. There's a reason for spinning. There's a thing called a whirling dervish. A dervish is an Eastern philosophy type guy, and the whirling will help a person get out of body. There's just all kinds of things that you can do on a daily basis as prep work or setups, so that when you do apply an out-of-body technique, it will more likely work. So there's wake up and go back to sleep stuff. There's wake up and a lucid dream stuff. There's phase shifting. There's Robert Monroe's technique, Michael Raduga's technique, Robert Bruce's technique, and Robert Bruce energy work stuff. All kinds of stuff. We're throwing it in here, but we're doing it together as a team. We're working this stuff together. And it's a forum thing, so that's very interactive every day. You can just get in there and share what you're doing. I can share what I'm doing. I'll be able to share what she's doing. And everybody works together. And when some of these experimental techniques are the way you personally are setting up your dailies and the techniques you're using, when they fucking work, other people are going to go, God damn, I'm going to try that. Because you get to choose what you want to do and in what order.
Yeah.
And as Agvila and I work with you daily and weekly. So it's a work in progress. And Agvila and I are both putting it together right now. Mm-hmm. We got a lot done, but there's still some to do. So I guess if people are interested, they can put a little thing down there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm interested. We'll let you know when we're ready to go.
Yeah, so we've covered a lot of subjects today, and before we wrap it up, last question, promise.
Sure.
Maybe. Where do you see humanity going? There's we talk about all these oh my God, there's so many things happening. Where do you see us going? What do you see do you see any positivity or something good happening to humanity, or is it all bad?
Yeah, I see good coming out of this. But there's a lot of theories, a lot of stories. And there's the second Earth, story. And not to say story is a good thing or a bad thing, or it's true or not true. It's story. We tell ourselves story, and they're basically what we believe about our lives. That's our story. We're telling ourselves who we are, how we are, how life is going for us, and we live the story we tell ourselves. That's our story. By the way, in the OBE research project, where there's a whole thing about how to change your story, and you are the main character in your story, and there's techniques for changing your character. There's all kinds of good shit in the OBE research project. I hope I see you guys there. So anyway, the future of humanity, or where humanity is going. First, I believe that some people are going to wake up, figure it out, or just wake up and know what to do and how to go about. It's not about saving Earth so much as saving yourself. Save yourself first, and it has to do with whether it's the world saving itself, we as a people or a species saving ourselves, or waking up. We have to do it individually and collectively, but we definitely have to do it individually first. So saving or helping the world go in the right direction starts with you and me going in the right direction, and sharing our insights and our progress along the way is important. So with that said, I believe it's very important that people understand who and what is controlling the world and making the conditions of humanity what they are. There are very evil, very dark, as in evil, dark beings who are doing their best to control and dominate this world and keep everybody in the dark, ignorant, in misery, pain, and suffering. asleep, programmed, mind controlled, and like that. So to snap free or break free of this, we have to do it individually, one way or another. So do your spiritual work, you know, whatever it is. Be here now, quiet mind, be the consciousness that is and experiencing what is one of the less complicated ways or uncomplicated ways. It just takes practice, practice, practice. Quiet mind, be here now, which also is going to be in the OBE research project. Not everybody's going to want to dedicate a lot of time to practice quiet mind daily, but some of us will. And we get to report, how is that working for you to help you shift consciousness into the higher realms? So there's a lot of theory on why that works and how it works. But the future of humanity, that's a really big subject.
Yeah.
But the simplest, it always goes back to you individually or me individually. When you leave this place, you have the choice of coming back or not. And, you know, if you come back, you will have your reasons. You know, make sure they're good reasons and they're for the greater good if you come back. Because if it's just, hey, I want to be a rich man next time, I want to, you know, do some material thing. If that's you, then you are here to inherit this planet, which is another philosophy and theory about this. The meek shall inherit the earth. Exactly. And I don't mean the kind and loving. I mean the afraid to wake up and face the dark side. And you're going to be the effect of those others who want to keep you in the dark, keep you ignorant and uninformed. And you may decide to recycle, reincarnate, and you're back again. So it's almost like there's two ways to go about a positive future for Earth. Two general ways is one, you leave, don't come back. Fuck Earth. I'm not saying it's a bad way or a good way. I'm just saying that's a way. The other way is to do what you can while you're here to awaken yourself and others. Because if your old boat keeps leaking and you're always repairing the thing and you're out in the ocean and you've got your crew here and you're trying to save yourself and your crew and the boat, save the planet, metaphor, and the damn thing keeps leaking and everybody's always busy patching the leaks and they're not able to focus on navigation or other important things or becoming a better sailor or a better crew member, getting along with your fellows. And now there's fighting going on and all this is, and your boat's about to sink every other fucking day. Some tragedy, you know, you're running into the rocks or you hit an iceberg or, you know, now you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no water, fresh water, all this stuff. Well, theoretically, in this metaphor, there's someone in the crew that is sabotaging the boat. Okay? It threw me off because your video froze for a second. But there's somebody sabotaging the boat. Somebody's causing the boat to leak. Somebody's causing you to run off on the rocks or run into the iceberg. And you think they're your friends. If you don't know who that is, in other words, you don't wake up to the fact that there's somebody bad in your crew, in your civilization, and they're doing this to you on purpose, and then they're in positions of power and control too, and they're working in secret, you'll never solve the problem. So step one is you find out who's sabotaging the boat, and are they a puppet or a puppet master? Are they a grunt or are they calling the shots? So you have to find out. You have to look, you have to learn, you have to find out who's sabotaging the boat. who's sabotaging our planet, who's sabotaging our civilization, who's sabotaging humanity. That's step one. You got to do that. And then you got to find out, the power structure. Is it grunt, or is it boss, or somebody in the middle? And then once you start realizing, oh, there is somebody, there are bad people doing bad things on planet Earth, and they're not just doing bad things randomly. This is organized system of taking over planet Earth and humanity. People have to know that. And when you get enough crew members believing you, because you're right, it's true, and you get enough crew members, you can take it to the next level. You can get rid of the bad crew, more than one, and if it's the captain of the ship, you're going to be fucked until, or the captain and the officers that are running the ship, if they are the bad guys, you're going to need a lot of the crew to be on the same page with you, having woken up to the crew and the captain are bad. Those who are running and controlling the ship are the bad guys. You're going to need a lot of crew to wake up, and you're going to have to be organized in such a way as to remove the bad crew and the bad captain and replace it with a good crew and a good captain. So that's how it's got to be, as I see it, with planet Earth. And that could take 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, whatever it takes. So those are my two approaches to, and that's why I think helping wake people up is a good idea on what's going on in the world.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. It's like a real pleasure listening to you and like learning from you. So the last question I have is, where can people find you?
I'm at richwest.net, and at the link we have a Facebook page, and we have a Patreon and different stuff. There'll be links down there, but at richwest.net.
All right. Well, thank you. So I hope people who watch this enjoy this, and please share us like your thoughts, like what you learned, your whole like thing about this interview. We can do more if people like it. So it's a pleasure talking to you, Rich, and yes, we can wrap it up.
Well, thank you, Agvila. Thank you all for watching, and that was a great interview. I didn't know you could do that.
Thanks. Okay. Bye.